Market off lows with Nifty are now about 23,900 even as uncertainty over the US poll result and the US Federal Reserve policy meet outcome keep investors on edge. Metals and autos gain even as healthcare and capital goods are the big drags. Maruti's parent Suzuki unveiled the group's first electric vehicle, the e-Vitara, to be produced in Sanand plant in Gujarat, while Eicher Motors Royal Enfield launches a new brand Flying Flea for its new city EV bikes, and M&M2 is set to debut soon. ABB sees slower growth in orders and long cycle wins leading to order book and revenue missing growth expectations even as margins expand on lower material costs. The stock slips. L&T is set to pick up a 21% stake for just over rupees 1,400 crores in E2E Networks, a cloud computing solution player and NVIDIA partner to leverage its cloud computing and data processing capabilities. Hello, good afternoon. You're watching Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18 and I'm Vinny Motiwala. Markets, some bit of a positive side at least that you could see because it's recovered from the day's lowest point. Look at it. Yes, 23,920 levels right now is what the Nifty is holding on to. At one point of time, it was at 23,850. So considerable recovery from the day's lowest point is what we're seeing for the benchmark indices. Let's look at what the broader markets were doing because at one point of time, there was clear underperformance coming in from the broader markets. Whether you look at the Nifty Midcap or even the Nifty Smallcap, that too seems like seeing a bit of a recovery, not as much as the Nifty, but yes, a bit of a recovery in the mid and small cap is what we're seeing coming in. Let's talk about some of the top drags today, especially coming in for the Nifty 50 and what impacted it. We have ITC, that was among the top drag. We have Bharti Airtel, which is causing a bit of a pressure on overall the index, as well as Reliance Heavyweight. When it sees a bit of a subluminous, you see that fall, and M&M2 is under pressure. So yes, keeping an eye out on that. Let's pull up some of the, actually let's see Nifty Pharma and Realty, both these sectors, they're the top sectoral loser today. We have a lot of pharma names that are under pressure, and with that, we also have Nifty Realty that's also under pressure. So pharma, look at it, 0.5% of decline that we're seeing, opened up in the green, but then it saw a sharp fall coming in. Nifty Realty similarly down 0.7% in trade. So we'd see the market open up on the green side, but then we saw a fall, and right now trying to make some bit of a comeback and a recovery. Nifty Media, that's holding on to strong gains today, so let's watch out for that one in trade as well. As of now, okay, so Nifty Media seems like it's fallen off, so down 0.8% in trade. We have some of the names among the Nifty 500 that we should be highlighting. Some losers, PB Fintech, Torrent Power, as well as ABB. Top falls that are coming in, and top losers, I beg your pardon, coming in for the Nifty 500. On the gaining side, we do have some green coming in today. Gland Pharma, MRPL, Deepak Fertilizers, all of them managing to hold on to decent gains in trade. Gland Pharma is among the top Nifty 500 gainers when you look at it, up 12% at one point of time. It was up almost 13% in trade. But let's get the show started and talk about some of the automakers and what's happening on that front. Now, automakers are slowly betting on that electric vehicle space with the new EV launches announced by Eicher Motors as well as Maruti Suzuki. Sudarshan is joining in with us to give us a detail on the run-through of these new launches. Sudarshan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Vinny. So we had two new EV launches yesterday. First one was by Suzuki Motor. They had launched e-Vitara, and companies expecting to produce the same at Suzuki Motor Gujarat plant and expect the sales to begin in 2025. If you talk about specifications, China's BYD will supply batteries, and currently they have two options on the offer. One is in 49 kilowatt per hour and second one is in 61 kilowatt offer. And if you talk about the competition, it might face from Tata Curve, and second is upcoming Hyundai Creta EV, and third is Mahindra's BE6E. If you talk about Eicher Motors company, Royal Enfield has entered EV space and it has launched EV brand called Flying Flea, and and it says all new electric mobility solutions will be for CT plus space, and currently it has two variants, Flying Flea C6 and second variant is Flying Flea S6. And if you talk about the launches, company expects to launch the first model next year. And if you talk about the competition for this, currently we have limited offerings from startups, but Ola and Hero MotoCorp are looking to launch bikes in EV space very soon.
Okay, Sudarshan, thank you so much for that, giving us an update on the auto side and the new launches in the world of EV. Let's move on to stocks that are in the news today. We have L&T that is all set to buy stake in an India cloud company, that is E2E Networks. For more details on this, let's go across to Vivek, who's joining in with us.
Well, that's right. A very interesting acquisition as far as big boy L&T is concerned. L&T is looking to acquire up to 21% stake in an NSE-listed company called as E2E Networks Limited. L&T will also nominate 2 directors on the board of E2E Networks. The acquisition is expected to be completed by the end of this calendar year. The stake will be done or will be purchased via 2 separate tranches. The first tranche is where L&T will take close to 15% stake, and this will be done via a preferential allotment of shares. Preferential allotment, L&T will pay a little over 1,080 crore, and this will be done at price per share of 3,622 rupees a share. Remember, that will value the company at a market capitalization of 6,115 crore rupees. E2E's current market cap is in excess of 8,300 crore rupees. Now, interestingly, the second tranche is a direct stake buy from the promoters, a 6% stake buy that L&T will do, and L&T will shell out close to 327 crore rupees, and the price per share is at 2,750 rupees a share, market cap well below the current market cap at 4,640 crores. L&T says that they do not intend to acquire a controlling stake in E2E, so most likely this particular stake will continue to hover around the current levels. Now, talking about E2E, it's an Indian cloud company offering public cloud services, specializes in providing CPU as well as GPU-based cloud computing platforms, and along with that helps companies carry out large-scale general as well as AI workloads. Company has an existing relationship with NVIDIA. In terms of financials, E2E FY24 had a top line of close to 94.5 crore rupees with a profitability of close to 22 crore rupees. Interesting from L&T, it will be interesting to note what L&T says as the rationale for acquiring this particular stake. In the press release, they mentioned that they see quite a bit of complementarity between the E2E's business solutions and L&T's own portfolio as well in that particular segment.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Vivek. But let's move on. Another stock that is moving in trade today is ABB India. The stock is under pressure after the company reports slower growth in orders and revenue missing growth expectations. Vamakshi is joining in with us to tell us the highlights and what the management had to say in the conference call.
Well, Vinny, it was a weak set coming in from ABB India. When we look at the order inflow, it came in at 3,342 crores. This is slightly below what the street was expecting and is slightly lower as compared to the 3,500 crore run rate that we've been seeing in the last few quarters. Order book, however, stood at a record high. The order book tilted towards long cycle orders and their share actually rose to 25% of the order book, and this in turn impacted conversions from order booking to revenue. Revenue stood at 2,912 crores. This is an uptick of 5%, misses estimates. The EBITDA margin on the flip side, however, came in higher than estimates, and that is because of a fall of nearly 6% in the raw material cost. EBITDA as well as net profit both came in below the street expectations. As far as the conference call is concerned, the management highlighted that the velocity of conversions from order booking to revenue may not be the same as seen in the past. Large order execution is still, to gain momentum, aligning with project schedules. They're, however, seeing an uptick in the private capex along with the public sector capex. They believe that a healthy order pipeline, order quarterly inflow pipeline could be somewhere around 2,500 to 3,000 crores, and it is very difficult for them to predict when it will hit the 4,000 crore mark. Additionally, they said that the order pipeline looks quite strong for them, but the volumes may plateau before they see a jump up. A lot of uncertainty is being seen in the global markets as well, and as it gets cleared, it will be beneficial for the domestic business as well. But we will have, but they say that they have no correlation for the same. For exports, they say that there is still room to export to Middle East as well as Africa, but their key focus area is still the domestic market. So overall, not a good set coming in from ABB. The management commentary too not looking so promising.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Vamakshi. Let's move on to a CNBC TV18 exclusive, and OMCs are likely to seek compensation on rising LPG under recoveries. Let's go across to Sapna, who has all those details. Sapna?
Well, yes, the numbers are very much in the public domain for everyone to see. So, in comparison to March FY24, when the total under recoveries as far as LPG, domestic LPG is concerned, that was hardly around 1,099 odd crores. The number is now shot up over 1,600 odd percent to as high as 17,500 odd crores. So, this is a big number that we're talking about, and the rise in the LPG under recoveries has happened in a very short span of just 6 months. So, there is a definite case for the OMCs to seek this kind of compensation, cash compensation from the government. There have always been enough indications that since the LPG prices are still administered, companies can seek, the funding from the government to make up for these kind of losses. Having said that, the matter probably already has some kind of consideration within the administrative ministry, that is the petroleum ministry. We'll have to now wait and watch and see how this pans out with the finance ministry, because ultimately the cash compensation has to be agreed from there. If you recall very quickly, way back in FY22 also, just after the Ukraine war had broken out, around 28,000 crores was the kind of money that the OMCs had asked for in terms of the LPG under recoveries, and 22,000 crores of cash compensation had been given by the government at that point in time. So we'll have to wait and watch and see. Of course, the situation is not as bad as it was in FY22, but these are numbers which are not going away anywhere, and something will have to be done. So we'll have to wait and watch and see, what kind of discussions happen between the administrative ministry and the finance ministry, and whether a cabinet note is moved over the next month or two.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Sapna. But let's move on, and actually we'll go into a very short break. And on the other side, we'll bring you updates from the upcoming US presidential elections, so stay tuned in. Welcome back. You're watching Business Lunch on CNBC TV18, and let's move on. The United States is heading for a high-stake presidential election later today. Polls show Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are neck and neck in the race for the White House. Parikshit is joining in with us with the latest.
Roughly 82 million American citizens out of 186 million registered voters have already voted. This means more than 50% of the total votes cast in the 2020 election are already in via early voting. Now, when does voting actually begin on election day? On the 5th of November, voting begins at 5 a.m. Eastern Time in Vermont, and between 6 a.m. Eastern Time and 12 p.m. Eastern Time in other states. First polls to close would be in eastern counties of Indiana and Kentucky at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. This would be followed by Georgia, South Carolina, Vermont and Virginia. That would close by 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The all-important state of Pennsylvania is likely to close by 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Alaska would be the last state to finish voting, and this could go on till about 1 a.m. on 6th of November in the United States. By 6:30 a.m. India time on the 6th of November, polls may project a winner in the crucial state of Pennsylvania, which may give a sense of the national mood. The overall results and the winner could be announced on 6th morning unless there is a recount due to a narrow margin of victory in the swing states. And this is being expected because the victory margin, according to most polls, is very, very narrow right now. And in case there is a recount, it could take hours or even some days for the winner to be projected. After Iowa, Harris is expected to win Nevada, according to John Ralston of Nevada Independent, which has a very strong and robust track record of polling. Harris will win 48.5% of the vote, and Trump will win 48.2%, according to the Nevada Independent poll. Independent voters, according to Ralston, will be giving a narrow victory to Harris in Nevada. According to Washington Post average of polls, Trump is leading Pennsylvania by just 1 point. Harris has a marginal 1-point lead over Trump in 4 national polls, but overall the race is tied and remains too close to call.
Okay, well, as Parikshit mentioned, that the unexpected lead for the Democrats in the red state of Iowa is likely to jolt Republicans. Jay Ann Seltzer, president of the company which conducted the poll, said that she was also shocked by the results and explained the methodology behind it in an exclusive chat.
Well, you're expressing greater confidence than I feel. This, of course, was a shock to see Kamala Harris leading Donald Trump. Donald Trump won Iowa the last two elections. So shock doesn't even quite do it justice, and confidence would be overstating the case. And as far as my reputation, let's hope it's intact after Election Day. I take the best shot I can with my polling methods to reveal the truth. There's nothing more I can think of that I could do that would be helpful in understanding this.
Right. Could you explain us the methodology and what really caused this tectonic shift, so to say? Who are the large voting groups who are now backing Kamala Harris, according to you?
Independent women have shifted. In earlier polls this year, they were voting in majorities for Donald Trump, and now they're in majorities for Kamala Harris. So one of the things driving this, we speculate, is that the abortion ban went into effect in July. So our June poll that had Donald Trump with a big lead shrank and then shrank again, actually with Kamala Harris leapfrogging over him into first place. One of the things that we know, two things. We know that a majority of Iowans think that all or most abortions should be legal. We know that the congressional race, we have 4 congressional districts, all of them held by Republicans. In the first district, which has been an intense race about abortion, the Democratic challenger is leading by 20 points. So it suggests to us that abortion is a big issue here.
But do you feel that the women voters in America will be deciding this election?
There's a case certainly in Iowa for that. Kamala Harris is winning by 20 points among women. Donald Trump is winning by 14 points among men. And other pollsters who work with candidates and with campaigns have said, you know, if you're a Democratic candidate, you need to win with women more than you lose with men. And that's exactly the state of the game right here in Iowa.
Thanks for staying tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Let's move on. The Supreme Court has ruled that the centre cannot nationalise or redistribute all private resources, overturning an apex court verdict from 1978. Ashmit is joining you with us now with more details on this story. Ashmit?
Well, this issue travels back nearly 50 years, 46 to be specific. Here's the context to it all. Article 39B essentially says that the state, the government, shall make policies to ensure that the material resources of the community are distributed for public good. Now, what does that mean? A 1978 judgment of the Apex Court had held that this essentially means that the government can pass orders to nationalize, to take over even private property. Now, that is something that the Apex Court today has taken objection to. The Supreme Court, in a 9-judge bench order, this is, mind you, a landmark order, a 50-year-old case being decided. The Supreme Court in this 9-judge bench configuration has clearly held that is not consistent with modern realities, that is not tenable, and has overturned the 1978 verdict. The effects of the 1978 verdict essentially was that tomorrow, if you are a car dealership owner, the government could pass orders to take over the ownership of the car dealership as well as the cars in question. Now, that is something as a modern reality that the Apex Court is referring to, saying that back then, when this judgment was passed, 1978, there was a socialist school of thought, that the judgment itself makes references to Karl Marx, that is not consistent coexistent with modern realities, that the post-90s India has seen a sense of liberalization where public investment is coexistent with private investment, that is one aspect that India has been in fact awoken to, that India has constantly rejected any one specific economic dogma. It has traveled and migrated with the times, and modern times dictate that there is a modern interpretation of this 39B required. So essentially the Apex Court ruling that this precedent that had been set by the Apex Court, that private properties can be taken over by the centre, by the government, is no longer true. That power of the centre has been trimmed by the Apex Court.
Okay, Ashmit, thank you so much for that. But that's all the time we have on this edition of Business Lunch. Thanks so much for tuning in. And don't go anywhere. Midcap Radar up next.